I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Mary, read the roll, please.
Present.
Thompson,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Ferris, Garcia.
Here. Please join me with pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 2, under public comment. Mary, Josh, anybody signed in? Okay. Anybody would like to speak to the commission in any shape, form, or manner before we start our regular formal meeting? No. Okay, so Mary advised me that Rhonda is running late. She's just past Hudson, so no big deal. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this probably agenda just a little bit down. I just got a few brief comments to share with the commission, so I am going to move to recess into executive session under KSA 754319B1 for matters relating to non-elected personnel for 30 minutes. The time is 5:01. I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Instead of just accommodating you guys, I think we'll just step out because it's not going to take that long. We'll be right back. Just make sure and holler at us when we start. Huh? call this meeting back to order at 5:05. So we will, no action needs to be taken. So we go back into our regular meeting, and so the commission has been forwarded the last final draft for them to view and to study it. And so they've had time to read through it and look at all the changes that we have made on the contract. And at this time, I would entertain a motion to accept the contract as presented.
I'll make a motion that we accept it for the contract for Alan D. Lanning for 2 years with base salary of $96,000 a year.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Have a second by Commissioner Brombaugh. Any questions or concerns? Mary, read the roll.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So at this particular time, Mary, do you need to do, I'll ask Alan to please move into the, is there any, you have to give the oath, right? So,
Raise your hand and repeat after me. I, Alan Lanning,
I, Alan Lanning,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I support the Constitution of the United States,
that I support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
the Constitution of the State of Kansas,
and the laws of the City of Goodland, Kansas.
and the laws of the City of Goodland, Kansas.
I will faithfully,
I will faithfully,
and to the best of my ability,
and to the best of my ability,
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
as city manager,
as city manager,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations, and you'll sign the
Thank
oath,
you.
and then I'll pick it up after.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Al.
Yeah. I will wait for him to take his official capacity and position in the chair. Yeah, so just to give you a little bit of a background, in the process, we had 27 applicants apply to the response of the city manager's capacity. The commission reduced that down to 6 strong candidates they felt that supported and were in a position that met the criteria of what the commission was looking for. Out of that 6, 1 of those actually accepted a position in another municipality in the process, which left 5 candidates. We did some Skype interviews. The commission finally narrowed it down to 3 candidates, and after lengthy discussions, and at this point I would like to commend the professionalism of the commission. We went through quite a process, and but yet came to a consensus and agreement after reviewing and doing Skype and personal interviews with the candidate, and we all came in union agreement that Mr. Lanning, who comes to us from Hayden, Colorado, which is, correct me when I'm wrong, Alan, which is a community that's close to Steamboat Springs. Alan comes to us with a vast background of municipality experience and government. He is a Midwest boy, so he knows the geographics of the area. In fact, he has spent time in Goodland in prior times. He has liked the community, so he's well versed in all of the municipality. He's great in planning and zoning, so he brings vast experience there. So at this time and point, I'm going to turn it over with a great privilege. Again, thank you to the commission for swearing in our new city manager, Mr. Alan Lanning. Alan, I'm going to give you the microphone. You might bring that down to you and say a few words.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's it's going to be a pretty quick turnaround. I was pretty much available immediately. So I look forward to working with each of you and helping Goodland move forward as it wants to for the future, and look to a productive and long relationship. Thank you very much.
Commissioners, any questions right off the bat for our new city commissioner? You know, Kevin, I'm just gonna have why don't the commission just stand up there and let's just get, because all these guys were responsible for bringing this guy, we'll just get up here and take a photo so that you can, put that up there, so.
You got the other two.
All right, so these are those guys that were responsible for bringing in. Well, we got a few minutes here. She getting pretty close, man? She just got on the exit. Well, how was your drive up here, Alan? Did you have a
Very uneventful.
Marion? That's the way we like them, right?
Yep. So another one next week. As I said, I'll be in the office on starting December 1st. So
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
feel free to stop by.
One of the things that I was gonna ask you before you might call a meeting in the morning, and there's some department head managers. You might want to spend a little time, Mary will show you, you can meet with them up here. They generally get here, what time? At 7, Mary? Okay. So it might not be bad to, meet with them and just kind of, present yourself to them, and doesn't have to be anything long, but I'd like you to personally meet, the department head at 7:15 in the morning. Will that work for you pretty good?
Yeah, Mary had invited me to that, and I said I was going to be out of here pretty early, but I'll be here at 7:15.
Okay. Yeah. Shouldn't
You can just drive faster.
Yeah.
shouldn't take too long. For sure. Yeah, so you have spent some time in Goodland before in prior occasions, right? So you're well familiar with the community.
Well, we've been here a couple times in our travels, and always impressed with Goodland, and it seems like it seemed like a very, very nice town, and as I spent more time here, that was confirmed. So happy to be here.
Spent some time at the KOA. Did
Yep.
you say? KOA.
Yep. Been there
Nice.
several times.
Nice people up there. Well, guys, we're just waiting for Ron to show up, and we'll go right into the meeting.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes, absolutely.
So the presentation tonight this is a special meeting just to do
Yeah.
that presentation?
Yeah, we've been dealing with two consulting firms, and at our last meeting on the 16th, in order to be fair, to our current consultant, a couple of commissioners, brought up an issue that they would like to, have her here. So the special meeting tonight is to give her an opportunity, to do her presentation just like we did the other consultant.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, she here? Rhonda, would you please come and take the podium? And or good evening. So right before we go into, I would just like to set the employees that they will have an opportunity to ask questions, just like you did of Mr. Longhopper. I would like to remind the employees that this has nothing to do with insurance plans. The only format of discussion tonight is in relationship to consulting firms. And with that being said, Rhonda, I'll turn the floor over to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Ron.
I prepared a book of information about PIC for you that we're going to go through this evening. I may have a lot of information in here, but I will not go through every bit of it, so you have some time to review some of it. In section 1, we're going to start with, I just have a little note to you as commissioners about, I'm basically looking at this as a new group. So we're just starting from scratch for those of you who are not familiar with PIC. Basically what we do is we want to help you explore all of the opportunities to do with your employee benefit packages. We want to help you with solutions. We want to strategize with you. We want to stay in compliance, make sure you're legal on everything. And we do that by giving you customized compliance information and customized communications. Flip on to section 2. This is letting you know a little bit about how we work for every area of your business. Your employees are the heart and soul of your business, and so what we want to try to do is find a middle ground between the employees and where you are at with your budgets, as well as keeping all of the compliance issues, the finances in order. We want to work with all four different areas: your leadership, your administrative team, your human resources, and your employees. And we're going to go through each one of these areas in a little bit in detail. How we work with your leadership team is we work with your plan design, plan selection, your medical and prescription drug analysis, your insurance guidance, negotiate your renewal, quote plans, claims and billing assistance, and application submissions. Your administrative team on this next page, we want to keep on top of legislative initiatives so we can make sure that you're staying in compliance, and we'll go into that a little bit more. Human resources, we want to tackle rising employee communications and concerns and try to keep those benefit packages in order at all times. We have an HR hotline, which has helped your city in many ways throughout the years that we've worked with the city. HR compliance bulletins, as things change, they happen. We have information within 24 hours of that change to your human resources team and your administrative team and leadership teams as well. Open enrollment meetings, we prepare the booklets, we customize communications, we do a post-enrollment wrap-up, but we work with them all throughout the year on reporting, compliance, as well as where your plan's at, utilization analysis, our quarterly reporting. We work with them just constantly all year long. Your employees, we work with them with wellness information, claims information, people adding and changing their plan, lots of different services throughout the year, and we'll get into that in detail. That's just a brief summary of how PIC works for the city. In section 3, this gets into a little bit more detail on the leadership team. As we work through the benefit plan design, that's one of the big things that we work on throughout the year. Do we need to make changes? Are there changes in your current plan that we need to adhere to in the future? We want to evaluate those, and then we work with your budgets and your projections and where we might be. Are we within that budget based on the utilization from the carrier? Renewal evaluation, we look at the carrier projections, whoever you're with currently. We coordinate those negotiations so we can work together with your leadership team and your human resources. We assist in developing the working rates where they need to be. If you are self-funded, that comes into play a little bit more. We want to provide renewal alternatives so we can see how that impacts the benefit plan changes as well. We do year-end reports, plan financial reports quarterly, analyze your actual cost of your plan, your self-funded plan with your budgets. We do look at employee contributions every year. Large claims, how does that affect you going forward? With some carriers, that large claims dollar amounts come with you for several years. Others look at it every year and they erase anything that's not going on for the next year. We do comparison with your aggregate stop loss and self-funding, recommend funding at expected or maximum levels. We do marketing, and we do a thorough marketing when we do it. We want every carrier to see your claims history so that we are looking at claims. The bottom line is claims are claims no matter what carrier you are with. So if you're looking at your claims that are up to date and current, when you are shopping it, we look at that. Sometimes we require health statements so we can just verify that those rates are going to hold. We do not want to bring a rate into the city that's going to change dramatically the next year just because all of that information was ignored. And that does happen in the market today. It has my whole career. And it's very important that we compare as close as we can in plans, apples to apples, but where you are located, you are on the border. I have groups, worked one yesterday and today down in Medicine Lodge. They're sitting there, they go to Oklahoma, you guys go to Colorado. So changing carriers, that's extremely important to see that your employees can see the providers that they are used to using, especially in an emergency situation. You don't want them to end up at a hospital that's not in network and they're LifeWatch somewhere. So when we shop this every year, we look at what's going on in your group, where people are getting services, and how that carrier is going to work or not work for you. It's not just about the rates. It's all a part of, are they looking at the claims data correctly? Are they looking at the network that's going to work for them for the next 12 months? Are we looking at a carrier who's known for changing rates all the time, going back and forth, buying the business? A good rate, if we know the claims are good and maybe the current carrier is not competitive, we might want to look at that, but only if they've used all of the data that we provide them. The next page, it just tells you about insurance guidance, coverage, and policy expertise. I will tell you just a little background here. I started PIC in 1999, and I do know that I'm older than dirt, but I started with Blue Cross and Blue Shield right out of college. So I've been in this business pretty much my whole life, and I've seen the ups and downs, the carriers come and go, the carriers that are buying business, and it's kind of Blue Cross buys business every once in a while too. So I left Blue Cross not just because of, and I still have a great relationship with them, been asked to come back several times, but I left not just because of selling Blue Cross or selling benefits. It's all about the relationships, not just with the benefits, with the leadership, the human resources department, and the employees. I was one of 5 kids with a single mom. I had a handicapped sister with lots of medical conditions. and I saw my mom struggle to get those insurance things covered and paid and staying, you know, with the right doctors throughout the years. And we spend a lot of time when someone has those situations come up in your group. That takes you all out of that loop. It takes your HR person out of that. It puts someone in place who's the expert and who has handled that. That's what our team does. We have certain people that work just strictly on those items. When there's a major illness in the family or something, they help them through that situation. So I think those things are important. Money talks, and I get that, but also how does it affect everyone? You as a city, your employees, and the people who are working for you every day here. So we want to help with that, again, those claims and billing assistance, making sure that everybody's covered when they're supposed to be. We don't miss any of those little details, which can become big details. If you go into section 4, this is the administrative team. There is so much. Back in 1981, we took out renewals on $10 deductible plans. Do y'all remember having a $10 deductible with Blue Cross? That's long gone. And again, there was no shield, which is the doctor side. People just paid for their office visits. Then they added the shield part, which covered your doctor's visits and all of those things. And then, oh, by the way, then we added prescription drugs. So all of those things have really advanced, and they take a lot more time on everybody's part to make sure you're in compliance. We work with a resource that supports us, which helps us support you, on all of that compliance, keeping up to date on employee issues of all kinds. This is one of the briefs that your city administrator, your HR, and your city clerk get on a regular basis, every month. Of course, we haven't done anything in the last several months without the word COVID. So this one is still talking about COVID and advising your staff how to handle and support your employees for the holidays during COVID. Again, it's supposed to be one of the nicest, happiest times that we have, and how do we make it feel as close to Christmas as we can? So one of the things that they have come out with is telling you how to do that. So you're in compliance, you're not putting your employees in harm's way. So this is the December HR brief. The next page that we send out monthly in an email, and you all are welcome to be on the email list as well. The benefits buzz, which again, this time it's for December. Employee benefit limits for 2021 for HSAs. Transparency issues for carriers. The third one that we send out every month is this Live Well, Work Well piece. This comes with a little video attached to that email. And if you have employees' email addresses, we encourage this piece to be sent to everyone. It has had so many things recently about stress and how to deal with the changes in our lives right now. It always has a good little recipe if you want to try it, but it's just some positive ways to handle stress, to help you get motivated, just different things that come up over the year. You know, obviously there's Breast Cancer Awareness Month and all of those kinds of things, but it has a nice little video. If you don't want to read it, you just click on it and view that. The piece that's coming up next is, for instance, when the measles outbreak was an outbreak here a couple of years ago, we had all kinds of information on that. Now, of course, we're still on the COVID, but how do you know if it's the cold, or is it a flu, or is it COVID? This is a great poster to put around in your buildings, which we have, some of our health departments use these. But they have all kinds of little pieces, because it is kind of hard to tell right now. Every time you sneeze, you think, okay, am I sneezing because I have too much pepper on when I was cooking, or am I getting COVID? So this kind of gives you some, well, let me just look through the list. And these are things that we can provide at any time. There's a whole array of things to choose from. I just chose one that was kind of simple and basic, but I've been at several meetings where we've had some medical people, and they have seemed to like this one. It's just pretty much what they would have told someone, and to the point. Section 5, human resources. This HR hotline has been a gift to a lot of people, and I will say we've used this for several things in your city. If things come up with employee issues, for instance, if you have an employee that, you know, maybe you might want to terminate or is not quite doing what you want them to, you can ask for information. What are our rights? How do we help this employee turn things around? You can write that up, they'll tell you how, they'll provide you the information to do so. This has 13 ERISA attorneys that assist human resources people with a minimum of 20 years experience. And you'll see that as you read through this, but you can ask questions about your benefits. You can ask questions if someone wants to take a leave of absence. How do we handle that legally? Compliance, state employment law, wage and hour issues. These are things that I don't even deal with, but you have that resource through us to look at. Discipline and termination, recruiting and hiring, employee relations, workers' compensation. That's something, again, that comes up quite a bit. Investigations and performance management. Just a great resource for your supervisors. And we can put them into this program as well, where they can go in and ask those questions. If they don't want to do it, they just contact our office. We have a person who handles this. They'll write it up for them, and then they'll get that information back within 24 hours. We actually had a situation in a group where we needed to get something back that day, and we found out about 11 o'clock in the morning. It was very serious. And so we called, told them what was going on, along with the write-up. We had something in 2 hours and got it back to your group. So we've had those situations come up. The second page there is just questions and answers about the HR hotline. Just HR assistant services overview. Again, there's lots of HR toolkits in here for FMLA, all kinds of different things that we can quickly get to an employer if we need to. Keeping track of regulations, employees, are they getting the most out of their benefit program? Which we've really centered a little bit on that teledoc in the last several months. Just reminding people, I've had people call and say, hey, I can't get into the doctor with COVID. Have you tried the teledoc? Not that we want to have them not go to your local docs, but try that first. See if you can get some help and get those basic things taken care of. So, we want them to know everything about their benefits program. And then, is your employee handbook up to date? When we started with the city several years ago, one of the first things we did was work on that employee handbook and get it in line. We work with Hinkle Law Firm out of Wichita, and we do all of the legwork to save the group's money, and then they have a lump sum that they billed the city for putting the handbook together, which met all of the requirements. You also have a wrap document with them, I believe, that we help with on occasion. So if you'll flip over the back of that, it talks to the backside, HR education, employee handbook, benchmarking pieces that the survey results, we've handed those out every year to this group, HR toolkits, benefits education and communication. Compliance overview. Again, flip that to the back side and it just shows you again, healthcare reform, FMLA, COBRA compliance, Department of Labor compliance, and HIPAA compliance. And there's so much information we can dig into based on that particular situation. If you go into section 6, you will see employees. Again, this is, again, one of those reasons I decided to make a change from Blue Cross. They do a lot of things really well, but their employee group representatives that bring out renewals and bring out reports, that's what they're supposed to do. And you're to see 6 clients a day, and you have you have a time limit. If you continually show you're going over that time limit, you're supposed to have them call customer service for help. Again, I have a real problem. I have no problem with customer service for basic things, but if you need more help, I want to be able to sit down with your employee or say, I've got someone who's going to call you and work with you through that. And I think that's extremely important. I mean, you have a healthy employee mentally and physically, they're going to do a better job all the way around for you as well. So again, that's kind of a pet peeve of mine, and one of the reasons I started PIC. We do that employee newsletters, we have videos, we have benefit communications, and again, whether they're having a baby or retiring, we're happy to help them through that. If they're a new hire, we want to do new hire orientation. We set times with Crystal usually in your group as you have new hires, and then we do a webinar with them, or a GoToMeeting, excuse me, with them, or we come out. If we're out here, we see them and go through the benefits with them. That's part of what we want to do. We want them to hear the same story that all of the employees have heard, so that they know how their benefits work. So they're a new hire, we've done that. Well, they've been a great employee, they stayed for 30 years and now they're gonna retire. We wanna help them make sure they make the right decisions when they're moving to Medicare. We do not sell any of the products, but we can advise them when and when not to take Part B in Medicare or Part D. And those kinds of situations as they come up. We're on a quarterly rotation that we kind of watch for birth dates of people hitting 65. So our person in Hutch knows that, hey, once a quarter, I'm gonna try to catch all of these people so that if they're gonna continue to work, they still need to take Part D because we have a non-creditable health plan, but they don't need to take Part B. So we wanna make sure that they're not spending money on Part B if they don't need it, if they're gonna continue to work, but they don't miss Part D, so they don't have those penalties for every year they don't take it. So there's pieces of those things that we take care of every quarter. If you have some, you don't always have someone that's in that situation, but we watch for that, and Crystal helps us monitor that as well. So again, we want to cover their backs as well, make sure they're well taken care of. I put in, this is our employee benefit book that we do every year for this group. Pages 1 through 23 are the required notices. We make sure your employees, we go through these briefly, explaining to them what's required by the ACA, plus a few other additional pieces. We like to talk to them about FMLA on page 23. That's not required, but what we find a lot of times people don't know that they have paperwork to complete so that that job is held for them. And they also a lot of times don't realize that Kansas does not have paid family medical leave, so that they need to plan on using sick leave, vacation time to cover that time off if needed. So we go through a little bit on what FMLA is for, but we go through every one of these notices, whether it's COBRA, special enrollment rights. These are required for your employees to have by law every year. We post them on our website, so they can go to our website at 24/7 and look at this book completely. So if you have an intranet, we usually put it on there, but we still are doing paper for people who think it's important, and we have found a lot of people would rather have a piece of paper still in a lot of our groups than go online to take a look at it. So then it has a copy of your benefit summary. We go through this in detail, reminding people what they have. We talk about the network. We talk about the telemedicine, how the prescription drug program works, specialty meds with Blue Cross or whoever it is. We have the summary of benefits and coverages, which is required by law that they have these, part of that ACA requirement. We have a glossary of terms in here explaining what a deductible is, what coinsurance is, what's the marketplace. So they have a little cheat sheet. I don't know what they deal with every day. They say things that I don't understand, but I know what a deductible is. So I can look in here and find it. But if I don't, I can look in here. I mean, if I need, I'd like to have a cheat sheet for what some of you all talk about around here that I don't understand. You guys offer a cancer plan, voluntary, that the employee pays for. That's in here. And it talks a little bit about other products that you offer that have nothing to do with PIC, but you offer an AFLAC plan. So we let new hires know the number and that information, and your existing employees, and you have a vision plan. We just touch base on this at open enrollment so that they know that that person's going to be here to enroll you and try to help prepare them for that. We have posters that we can send out where they can post in each department. We always have an extremely good turnout for your group. And we enjoy very much working with your team. Section 7, and again, I'm trying to hit everything because we do a lot of things. This is a piece that those of you who've been here, this year they've compiled it in a nice little checklist box or package instead of just a bunch of different sections we had to pull together for you. But this is the ACA compliance for 2021. And some of these things are a little frightening because it talks about penalties in here if you don't do things. But we have, that's part of what we do, is try to keep you in compliance on everything. I want you to flip to, obviously, your grandfather plan. It talks about what causes the loss of that status. Right now, that's what you are, and it talks about the SBCs and those things. Go to page 7. There is a list of penalties for not meeting certain criteria on the 60/95 requirements for a self-funded plan. And just so you know, that is one thing that we work with your team to make sure that paperwork goes in a timely manner, make sure that it's filled out right, that you have the information from the carrier to fill out those tax requirements, and get that in every year. So we keep you in compliance there. Those penalties can be very high. So we want you to be aware that we're covering you there. Also, again, we attend Hinkle's meetings on these compliance issues every year to make sure that we understand. So we have direct access to 2 of the employee benefits attorneys at all times. And again, we have used them for your group. And we continue to work with Crystal and Mary every year on getting this in for you. So that's just something I wanted to point out. And then, but it's just kind of a little, again, a little cheat sheet for you to see what's required and some of the things that we help you with. The next page that's in the book is a legal update. Again, we get these constantly. This came out, Department of Labor paid leave. This was one of the first calls that we got from most of our groups is, okay, we've got somebody being quarantined. Do we have to pay them or not? What do we have to do? These COVID articles that we sent out from our service were out way before any carrier that we work with because they started dwindling in. But this is what this company does. They just strictly work on compliance. They work on these issues. And so this is kind of an update on how that works. But this came out early on and went to all of our groups. The next page is our first email that went out on COVID. And this came to this group on March 12th. And behind it shows you what we attached to that, just to give you some ideas. There's some automatic information that comes out. We felt this was important. We wanted it to come to you with as much information as we had at that point in time on March 12th on COVID. So the first one was the news brief that came out. If something happens and it's going to affect you, we're going to have this within 24 hours to you. The next few pieces were the attachments that they had to that, which gave you the CDC information that you could post right away. So that was ready for the next morning when you got here, and you know, after that was released. So people could get those out, start protecting your employees. So a lot of things we do are things every day that you all don't see. And sometimes we don't deal with your employees. I mean, there's people who don't need any assistance. But I think that we've worked with this group long enough that they know who to call if they need help. They know that we will help walk them through whether it's going on COBRA, if they leave the city, how does that affect them? If they're going to another employer, who really needs COBRA? Do you need to take it for your family? Or, hey, I have a dependent that's 23 and he's changing jobs and he's not going to have any coverage. Can I put him on the plan? Yes, it's in your book. It's a special enrollment right. Get in to see them within 30 days so you can get that person added on. Just little questions sometimes, but sometimes it's very serious situations. And again, we want to be there to walk them through that. And I grew up in a small town, so I will tell you, it seemed like on Fridays my mom always went to the beauty shop, so when I got home from school she knew what was going to happen that night before I did. So needless to say, we never went anywhere after the football game. We went home. So you're in a small town here, so sometimes you don't want people in the community to know your personal health information. So it's sometimes easier to call somebody who doesn't live here and say, this is what I'm going through and I need some help. But until we're ready to let people know, how do I walk through this and make sure we're doing the right things. So my last little section there, just to give you an idea, I don't have it in your book, but I'm going to fill you in on kind of the timeline that we usually have here. Your group renews March 1st. So March 1st of 20, we finished up the renewal. So in April, we usually meet with your admin, your HR, your leadership team, and go through kind of an open enrollment debrief. How did it go? What issues did people have at that meeting? What concerns did they have going forward? You know, are we presenting everything we need to? Those kinds of things, and start planning for the next renewal. So in June rolls around, we go through a utilization analysis report from the carrier that we're working with, letting you know what the year end with a little bit of run out time of claims for 3 months there. We want to know what happened in the first quarter and what happened at the whole complete year, the year prior in that first quarter review. It's year end and first quarter. Then we also, at that point in time, will start looking again forward to anything that's happening in the marketplace that we might want to talk about. We've looked at, for instance, a captive plan with your renewal 3 years in a row, how that might fit in here. Are there new things that are coming out? Do we need to set another meeting to talk about? And we do those kinds of things throughout the year. Then we go into the second quarter report in August. Well, then we're really talking about if we're going to have to do health statements, what are these carriers that we want to look at, or what are they requiring? Because we want to start that as soon as we can. Most of the information they want no more than 90 days out, because we have to keep feeding them information because they want current data. So we start that process. We go through that report. We look and see how our claims are looking. We're self-funded. Are we having a rough year? Are we, you know, what's changing in our group? By this time, we are working on, we went through the third quarter report, and we are working on our renewal plan. Already working with Blue Cross since about August, and then obviously preparing and putting stuff together to be able to send out as quick as we can if we want to shop the marketplace. Once that's all in, we prepare what we need to based on what we've gathered. We argue with Blue Cross a little bit if we need to, which we've been doing this last week or two, and trying to see if they can be at their bottom dollar because we are marketing it, those kinds of things. And then we prepare to bring it out to you to make your decision with a recommendation. We weed out carriers that can't meet what we need for network, can't meet what we need for maybe the benefit-wise, can't meet what we need for maybe processing and paying claims, what's the time frame, what are we hearing in the marketplace, are people moving from those companies, is there a reason why? So when we come into you, we try to have it narrowed down to where we want to be based on the market search. And then we make a recommendation. Then it's time to do open enrollment meetings. We meet with everybody, put everything together, and then we start the whole process again. So, and we are in communication, I will say, with your group several times a month, and happy to pop in at any time as needed. Because there's several of us, we travel the state and the surrounding states. We're licensed in multiple states, so we're coming or going through here, which not a lot of people come from Kansas City out here, and they're not always going to be here when you need them, so, or other areas. And again, I've got a little thank you note in here. We have so enjoyed working with the city. You guys have been a great group to have, very nice, gracious people, and it's been a pleasure working with everyone from the commission to the employees to your administrative team, and we would like to continue that if we possibly can. There's a little book in here, which is kind of the summary of what we just went through. Probably should have went through that first. But I wanted you to see the details because there's so much behind the scenes, and I think that's important to know. And again, it's renewal time now, and I'm just going to give you a little tip here from what I finished up with Blue Cross today, because I'm not sure I'm going to be here going forward. But we did throw together a little bit of information I'd like to share, if that's okay.
Sure.
Is that okay? And this is, I'm flying by the seat of my pants, so this may not be, don't hold me to everything, there may be a penny or two off here. My support person is off this week for
Thanks.
Okay, I actually finished this phone call on my way up here, so, I think you all know, and I know JD, you're at the hospital, so you know that a lot of claims did not happen from March through really till end of May. One thing that Blue Cross did, I believe, was refund your April dental premium, because no one could go to the dentist in April. And actually, Delta Dental did that the month prior, so I think they felt a little pressure. But that was nice of them to do that. And so claims have not been exactly where they normally are. Just to give you a little information, you've had a couple of really large claims this year in your group. And so our utilization, despite COVID, is a little bit high. And you are on a partially self-funded plan with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas. You have a stop loss, and then any claims under that stop loss, the city pays those claims. So our current plan, the fixed cost is money that you pay Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas every month to cover the stop loss, to cover processing and paying claims, network fees, those kinds of things. Your funding, we have been funding to the max because we kind of agreed to a 5-year fund to the max to get our reserves built up when we went back to self-funding. And the total is the fixed, or the money you're paying Blue Cross and what you're putting into your bank account every month to cover claims. So right now, based on your count, for the 2021 year, it's at $754,000 is your maximum based on those employees. The renewal, if you'll look right below, again, this is hot off the press, so your fixed cost and your funding total $890,000 for the new year, funding at maximum. Funding at expected, which means 25% less than the maximum, right below that, option 1. I also put in here 5%, you are a grandfather plan, 5% for the employee to pay their 5% in 2021, which is $30 on a single, $57 on an employee child, $60 a month on an employee spouse, and $87 on a family, just to put it out there since we had a fairly large renewal. So we've got $775,000. Of that, the employees are paying $39,000. So go with me back up to the first one. We are currently at $754,000. By funding at expected for next year, that's about a 3.5% increase. So not a bad increase when you look at it at expected. And the reason I wanted you to look at expected is because if you'll turn the page, if we take the renewal, and every year I've done this, let's compare it to fully insured. And I put in here again, the employees paying that 5%, which is $40,800. The city's portion would be $655,000 or $696,000 fully insured. So what this tells me, and based on your claims experience, Blue Cross is giving you large claims consideration if you go fully insured. Fully insured, they look at 12 months of claims. Self-funded, they'll go back to 3 years. So the third year back, there's a percentage of those claims that come forward to the past prior. So so we have that for the prior year, and then this year's claims. So Blue Cross thinks if you are fully insured, your claims are going to be covered at $696,157, and they're not going to lose a dime. That's where they think you're going to be. So my question to you all, and again, I know this is early and you don't have any time to digest, but I wanted you to have some time, so I'm giving you this now. If you would stay where you're at and fund it expected, then all the money that's coming in under the funding, which is all but $318,000 of that, if Blue Cross doesn't think they're going to spend it, why would you think you're going to spend it? So that $318,000 would be what you pay Blue Cross, and hopefully you would have the year that you are projected to have from Blue Cross, and you've just saved yourself anything that you don't pay out in claims, to continue to build those reserves that we've put aside. So again, that's part of the, the things that we look at. You've self-funded now for 5 years, and our reserves are not where I'd like them to be, but you still have that difference between expected and maximum sitting there. So it's a thought. And
What
again,
we had run at about 309,000, right?
I think that's, yeah.
315,000.
Yeah, I think we're running pretty good, John. So again, we've got more than that in that reserves. Again, Blue Cross doesn't think they're going to pay it out. So you might just bank quite a bit of money this year to keep that sitting there. And you may not. But I will say the 2 large claims are taken care of and they're not going forward, so. Just food for thought. Again, that's part of the strategy. And then I looked at a non-grandfather plan as close to your current benefits as I could, because it keeps the $501,000 deductible, but it, again, employees can pay up to 9.83% of their salary. And if you self-funded, the employees would end up paying about $148,000 of this, and the city would pay about $503,000. So, again, I've just got started with Blue Cross on options. We have more coming, but that fully insured number is a big key to me when I look at that from a carrier, because that's telling me where they feel their risk is at. And I don't know any carrier who's going to, that's had a group for a long time, is going to want to underbid that. Does that make sense? They know the risk in your group. They've had it. So I base this on 9.83% of a $14 an hour person. And so that would take them $238.55 out of their paycheck. I figured this very roughly today. Before taxes, they're taking home about $24.26 a month. After taxes and insurance, it'd be about $16.41 or $820 a month, or a paycheck, twice a month. So kind of hurts that pocketbook quite a little bit. Again, you can do anywhere in between there, but I just took that 9.83% of looking at your wages and came in at the $14 an hour. And you're spread out kind of over 4 tiers. Kind of, I did a 14 to 15. I did then a 16 to 25, and you know, 25 to 30. There's not very many once you get past that. So you've got a lot of people in that under $20 an hour, or right in that $14 to $20 an hour mark. So kind of hard to make put anything else in there. I just kind of picked that one to give you an example. So, but that's what we're working on currently with Blue Cross. Now that I have what I need from Blue Cross, it's time to get it out there quickly and market it. Blue Cross will want your answer today, since they're working on the numbers. That's how quickly they want them. But they know how I work, and they know that's not going to happen. So we want to have some other numbers to share with you as well. But that's kind of what's happening. And again, between driving and meetings today, I've worked with Blue Cross quite a little bit and tried to do things on the phone and have people put things together for me. It's been a little hairy day, but I wanted to have those numbers to share with you. How about questions for me?
Yes, absolutely. Employees, we'll start with employees before we move to the commissioners. Anybody has any questions?
I just have a testimonial. Me and my wife, we welcomed our first kid in February, and we went up to Children's Colorado in Denver for almost 3 weeks. I think it was 20 days. But with some error on my part, as far as, you know, confusion and not quite knowing what the hell I'm doing, I I made some mistakes on the insurance part, and we were on the hook for close to $250,000 because of my error. And I went into Mary's office one day after venting to Crystal about how insurance sucks and just feeling sorry for myself. We made a call to Rhonda, and she put us in contact with Alice Oldman, and she has been, I think, probably besides me, my wife's most frequent caller. And, she's been about every other day, or at least 3 times a week, somewhere in there. And, we just found out, I don't know, a week or so ago that she retired 3 months ago. And she has been trying to see us through all of this. And so, I might be a little partial to pick, but that's just me.
Yeah.
Alice called me on my way up here to
Cool.
give me an update.
Yeah, good.
She's still on your team, Ron?
She's actually retired, but she'll always be on our team. She retired from Blue Cross, and we've been great friends forever, so she'll still retain a computer and be at our beck and call if
Yeah.
we need her. She's one of those who really doesn't know what she'll do when she finally does nothing, but she's does a lot of charity work and different things, but she knows Blue Cross inside and out, so
Yeah.
she's, I hear about yours. We have weekly calls. I mean, sometimes Alice and I talk all the time, so, but she's gonna continue to do that as long as we want her to, so.
Good. Any other employee, guys? No questions? Okay, all right.
Most of the employees know how Rhonda works and her professionalism. And so we know, like she said, we're so familiar with her group that we can call on her group at any point in time.
And your people do, they call.
I've even had employee spouses, not Tyler's, but somebody else's, call for help. But that's what they're there for.
Yeah, we have things happen with people, they'll text me on the weekend, and then I'll text, do you need to know today, or whatever, or send it, I mean, this is what we do, it's about the relationships. It's about people.
Couple commissioners here, guys?
Couple of new ones there that I don't know yet, so.
Yes. Well, I got a couple questions for
Okay.
you, being a new guy. You kind of mentioned just the way you said, after you get your numbers from Blue Cross, you kind of determine if you want to shop the marketplace.
I can start shopping it, but I can't finalize those numbers until I get Blue Cross's renewal. Once I have that, then I can finalize those numbers because I need claims through October.
Okay.
And then they'll want claims through November. So I have claims out there through October, but I don't have claims through November. So once I get the renewal, I know I'm gonna have those claims in a couple weeks. So I have those claims at the end of, I'll go in and pull them on December 1st and send them out. So we
Where-
automatically shop it at least to 1 or 2 places just to hold Blue Cross accountable. But this year with what we were seeing, as far as your claims coming in, and even knowing about COVID and before we knew about this fully insured rate from Blue Cross, we have already talked to 3 other companies about getting bids and have the email ready to press go as soon as we have, the claims that we have for November will finalize those rates. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess that kind of goes into the second part of my question, which was what other companies do you procure bids from?
We'll go to Aetna for a fully insured quote, United Healthcare for a fully insured quote. We have 3 different third-party administrators that we'll go to. One of them will give us a captive plan. So we'll have about 5 different companies providing us multiple options. And again, we try to steer as close as we can to the current. When you make changes from one company to another, it's hard enough, let alone if we don't have a chance to kind of meet, if it's non-grandfathered, at least be a deductible that's, and office visit copays that are similar.
Okay.
So we always want to hold whoever we're with, we want to have at least one really good option to take a look at. And depending on the claims, a lot of times the people that we've worked with them for a long time, they'll say, you know what, our market's just not going to match that. And they'll decline to quote in some cases. If they see, that they can, then we get it. And then again, we start weeding based on networks, based on benefits. We narrow that down to like 2 options from each company, and then we compare, and then we basically decide what ones to bring to your leadership team to decide this is what we want to present to the commission. So, And so that's one of the things you need to decide on who you're working with, because all of this stuff needs to go now.
It's going really fast, yes. Next question I had kind of refers to grandfathered plans. That's a word that's been thrown around a lot this year around here. And I'm just kind of curious as to your thoughts as to what are the benefits from keeping a grandfathered plan, and are there any benefits to going with a non-grandfathered plan?
Remaining a grandfathered plan, the reason we have stayed that way is because it's been the best rate for your group. Comparing it to non-grandfathered plans, they've been higher. And in talking to the Blue Cross rep, their non-grandfathered pool, which you would be in if you go fully insured, if you stay self-funded, you'll still be in their pool for stop loss, but your claims will be your claims. But if you go non-grandfathered, fully insured, their pool's not doing well. And luckily, you have that option to compare those. But once you go to the other side, you stay there. You can't go back. The advantage to being on the other side in the non-grandfathered plan is your wellness is at 100%. And so if I go in and I'm over 50 for a colonoscopy, just so you know, I'm only 39, but if you're over 50, then it's 100%. If you have any wellness, it's 100%. So I think that's important. One of the things that the ACA does allow is for you to put wellness in your plan and stay grandfathered, because it's an enhancement, but it's going to cost a little bit more money. The other advantage of staying non-grandfathered or grandfathered is you're out of pocket. You know what that is. It's $500 in my deductible, 80/20 to the next 1,000, and then my plan pays 100%, other than my prescriptions. If I go non-grandfathered, I have a $500 deductible, possibly 80/20 to 1,000, and depending on the company, now Blue Cross stops it there on their on certain plans. And so all of my lab, x-ray, everything would be 100% the rest of the year. And then my co-pays would go towards my maximum out-of-pocket of $6,350 or $12,700 on a family. That's a lot of money. Now, which is, to me, not a big deal if the carriers we look at do it like Blue Cross does on some of their plans. If I had, my son, his wife had another baby this year, so $500 deductible, 80/20 to 1,000 on the mom, then $500, 80/20 on the baby, depending on how long they're in the nursery. So most likely they probably spent, because we fortunately had a healthy baby, probably about $2,200 on the two of them. However, I'm going to use you. If I'm in his situation, had to have the little guy in the hospital for a little bit, and I didn't have that threshold on their plan, then he could have spent $6,350 on the mom if she had complications, or $6,350 on the spouse or on the baby, or both. That's a lot of money. That's my biggest hesitation on going non-grandfathered, is if we can have that threshold in there. Blue Cross is taking it off of some of their plans. So if we're going to move, we want to move to a company that will do that, or move when Blue Cross is still offering it. If we go to a third-party administrator, which does only self-funded plans, then we can mirror the Blue Cross plan. So I'm not as nervous about doing it if we go non-grandfathered through a TPA, because we can do that anytime. It's our decision to see what out-of-pocket max we want to put on the plan. And we would make recommendations on that. Again, to protect you as a city on claims, but also to protect your employees. So there's pluses and minuses. So I can't give you a clear answer. Depends on your situation. But I would like to see, if you stay grandfathered, which we can stay grandfathered and go to another company that's through a third-party administrator, to a captive plan or something like that. If we would do that, I think we want to add the wellness. Why wouldn't we want to keep people healthy? So even if we stay with Blue Cross, that's grandfathered, or we go someplace else and it's grandfathered, I think we want to add those benefits. If you catch something early, it's saving hundreds of thousands of dollars, most likely. I mean, You know, my mother-in-law passed away of colon cancer. If she would have had her colonoscopies, maybe they would have found that, and she would have had the colonoscopies fee instead of the multi-million-dollar claims that she had. So, you know, it's a benefit to your plan. It's a huge benefit to not have to go through any of those things if you catch things early or eliminate it. So that's an addition that we want to add to this year if we can. So it's all about the dollars and cents. You guys have the flexibility to decide, well, grandfather's a little keeping us our rates better, then we can ride it out. If the other looks better at some point, just once we move, we're done. So, and we're stuck out there. But
So
every
are-
carrier's doing different things, as far as whether they're putting that threshold to you know, just have office visit copays and prescriptions go towards that. To me, that's a good thing, because if you have a huge illness, a major illness, and you have tons of office copays and tons of prescriptions, then all of a sudden you get, you know, you may spend $500 a month on just prescriptions, those kinds of things. Then you have a ending point, but that's rare. But if there's no threshold, it's kind of nerve-wracking to know, I'm going to sleep tonight and I'm making $14 an hour, how am I going to spend $6,350 on a claim and take care of my family and not go bankrupt in 5 seconds? So,
So are the four major players, Rhonda, is Blue Cross, Blue Shield, Kansas, United Healthcare, and Aetna and Cigna?
and Cigna.
Yeah.
And we
So-
would look at Cigna too.
Yeah, okay.
We would look, Cigna we use mainly for self-funded, but we would look at Cigna definitely. We use that a lot for reinsurance.
What's our stop loss? Is it 50?
You're gonna ask me that. No, it's like 30. I mean, we can increase our stop loss too, but for your group size, that's also something you wanna consider.
Is it can't well even in the grandfather you're able to adjust that
You can
up?
adjust the stop loss. Yes, you can, JD.
Well, so just like a car deductible, you know, you raise your
You,
raise
your
it up,
fixed
it could
costs
help
go
us out.
down, your funding goes up.
Mhm.
Which again is okay, as long as we, you know, we also look at how many, stop loss claims you have a year and how much they went over. And so we would evaluate that this year. So let's just say we have, and I think it's 30, but let's just say we had 5 people that hit the stop loss. How many people went over 40? How many people went over 50? So we could kind of see how that maybe, what your average is of people going over that. And right now, you've just had, this year, 2 people major go over it. You know, you've got another one that's not quite there yet, but will be 29,000 or something. So,
Is that an individual stop loss?
yes,
Is there an aggregate stop loss
Yes.
number? What's
and we also have a monthly aggregate,
and what's the annual aggregate?
125%, 25% over the expected. And we have a monthly aggregate, so let's just say in February, you have, I mean, here we have COVID, and you have the worst year ever, that you would, the first year you would, or the first month, you would pay 1/12 that total aggregate. Second month, 2/12, 3/12, and so on. By the end of the year, you know, Blue Cross has covered you and you're out of that, or the reinsurance carrier, whoever you're with.
So can you give me is there a number associated with 125%?
Yes, that's your maximum cost for claims that's listed in this, on this paper here.
Okay.
So right now, your aggregate attachment point is $500,468. And then if you'll go down, you'll see the maximum on the renewal is 572. The expected is 418 plus that 39,000 is your expected attachment point. So we want the difference between that and the 572 in those reserves, because that's what our maximum exposure is. So we want to be fully funded for that. And usually 3 months of run out of claims, because that's why we meet at the end of the first quarter on the year end, because claims continue to come in. Say our year ends February 28th. Well, I may have had a surgery on February 28th, so my claim is still coming in. Claims are filed electronically today, so they go fairly quickly, they come in, but that allows those claims that were incurred and haven't come in to the Blue Cross to be processed or the carrier to be paid, they come in and they have those run out for kind of that 90 days to get those in, and that's why we look at that. We look at that report all year from the carrier because that just continues to change. There could be little claims throughout the year. Timely filing is 12 months. So if I have a claim February 28th, the provider has 12 months to file that. And with Blue Cross, I believe it's 18 months to file that.
Does Blue Cross Blue Shield also provide the stop loss?
Yes. Blue Cross of Kansas is their own stop loss. That's why I also like to go to a third-party administrator, because they're shopping that. They're fighting for your business behind the scenes. If you've had a good year, we can change reinsurance carriers, A or better rated carriers every year to keep the rates more stable. And I think you've heard me say that throughout the years, if we could just, find somebody competitive. And so they're gonna shop it. They're gonna look at 12, sometimes 15 carriers for us. We never change our ID card. The network doesn't change. It's just who's paying those large claims. And we don't have that opportunity with Blue Cross.
And does Blue Cross process the prescriptions as well?
Yeah, everything's in-house. And with a third-party administrator, all of those claims also for prescription and everything go to that third-party administrator. And I might mention one other thing I forgot on the going non-grandfathered. We might be able to keep our prescription drug coverage. The way we have it, we may not be able to. Right now, you have a $100 deductible per person up to 2 people, and then I believe it's 50-50. I need to look that up. It's either 50-50 or 80-20. I think it's 50-50. And so once I hit that, I pay half of my prescriptions all year. So if we go non-grandfathered, there's a possibility we would have to add a prescription drug card. You have relatively low prescription use in your group because, again, your employees may not be paying as much for health insurance, but they're paying more than most on their prescription drugs because it's $100 and then they're paying 50-50. A lot of people have a drug card. They have to submit those themselves, by the way. So if I have a drug card, I go to the pharmacy, I pay $15 for my generic drug. Blue Cross or the carrier automatically gets that claim every time. If I pay $50 for a name brand drug, then the rest of it's paid by Blue Cross. Maybe that's a $500 drug. Or if it's a non-formulary drug, maybe it's a $75 copay, but Blue Cross is paying $900 on that drug on your behalf. So our prescription drug coverage utilization, if we go to a drug card, will go up because there's a whole different way of processing and paying claims, a whole different way of your employees are not getting those discount cards and things to help save money. They're just going to the pharmacy and showing that card. So we usually see that go right up. It's kind of like when Medicare, for years they had no prescription coverage, then they added it, and then premiums went through the roof. It's not that you don't have coverage for it. Currently you do, but again, it's saving the city money by having the plan that you have right now as far as premium.
In your experience, are there any public entities whose premiums are going down?
Actually, yes. I took out, I have taken out a nice decrease this year, just recently. So, but I am seeing, and on most renewals since this fourth quarter, renewals are going up because the projected COVID costs are skyrocketing. And Blue Cross reps, every one of them that I work with across the state have all said, we're padding because we know it's gonna hit. And that's why I cornered the Blue Cross rep today and I said, okay, your fully insured is going down. You're going up significantly on the current plan that's self-funded. What's the difference? Again, they think based on your history, this is where your claims are, but they think, again, you've had a good enough year overall on not the major claims that's where you need to be, even with COVID. So.
What's the, is there a threshold in terms of participants for a fully self-insured plan?
Yes.
And what's that number?
70%. Are you asking me how many have to
How many bodies?
70% of the ALEs, all eligible full-time employees.
Okay.
70%.
Okay.
And Blue Cross may be 75, but other carriers are at 70% for third-party administrators for self-funded plans. Okay, y'all sleep really well tonight because I bored you to death. This insurance is not fun. And if you do, please email me. My information's in the front there. Give me a call. Mary has all my numbers. And one of us will be happy to visit with you. And we'd, again, like the opportunity to continue this process. I think when we first started, you were fully insured with Blue Cross. Blue Cross had forced you to go back to fully insured because when the ACA started, they said basically if you were under 100, they weren't going to allow you to self-fund anymore. So your plan was running really well self-funded and you went back to fully insured. Well, we were looking and required Blue Cross to provide us those UAs. We were looking through those. They were just making money right and left off of your group fully insured. So we recommended that you go self-funding. Then we've had a couple of rough years, but we are building that reserve. And I think, it's been a process of kind of controlling your destiny a little bit by being self-funded. Again, I think you mentioned a higher stop loss, JD, and my concern that is based on size group. We usually kind of say if you are kind of in that 50 to 100 market size, you want to be from 30,000 to a max of 50, just because again, the risk that you have, you're just, not quite large enough to go over that, but yet it does give you that chance gain and kind of control some things going forward, so.
Is the self-funded portion of this plan, is it set up like a healthcare trust, or is it just line item stuff?
It's just basically with Blue Cross, you're funding it to the maximum like a fully insured plan. It is not a trust. But we also want to meet the guidelines that are required by Kansas, and that's why we say if you're a tax-supported entity, we want you to build that plan, fund it to the max for 5 years. Make sure you always have between maximum and expected, and usually, 3 months of run out. And for a tax-supported entity, it doesn't hurt to have 6 months of run out sitting there. So, that's something I watch every month. Every group, we look at their utilization, where they're at, to see how our funding, where we're at on that. And we have groups, I have a school district that funded to the maximum for 5 years, and then we went to expected. They kept running so well, we went 10% below expected because they got to a point where they had too much money in there. They were going to get in trouble. Then we went back to, so you can be anywhere in between, I guess is what I'm saying. We went to instead of expected, we went to 80% of maximum and 90% and back down. We've had virtually no rate increase in that group for the last 7 years because we have been able to, work if we needed to for a little bit from the reserves, those kinds of things. But they, again, have had some rough years, but we funded it where we needed to protect them, and again, to the point where we had to use up some money. So that budgeting and looking at those numbers are extremely important to me, and self-funded has always been kind of my baby because I can see, just like right now, it's real tempting to go to that fully insured plan with Blue Cross. But wait a minute, what are they seeing? Because they're the ones that are looking at your claims versus what do we want to see going forward? Money in that bank account. So maybe we can reduce costs here and there.
So do you have to do a health assessment plan on the employees in order for them to be able to get a real feel?
The reason we've done that, John, in the past, and I'll just fill you in, when we work with a third-party administrator, we get data because we are HIPAA compliant for your group. So that data tells us diagnosis, prognosis, and plan of treatment. When you're with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas, because your health plan's really written on fully insured paper, they will not release but numbers. So we have no idea, knowing when we get the list of, these are your high cost claims. We don't have any idea if they're ongoing, if they are termed, if they are, somebody who had a baby with complications and everything's great, or somebody who had a knee replacement, and they're not gonna have that next year. We don't have any data. So the reason I've requested and paid for health statements on your employees is because we wanna know if this is really a true quote for the other carriers to come in. And we don't know who had what. They all wanna know, well, what kind of medical conditions are we looking for? And that's why I wanna give them as much data as we can, because, you know, somebody may have something we don't know about. Obviously, none of us do. But we want them to make sure you're funding for it and make sure that they're giving us accurate numbers. So if we do the health statements and we know somebody had a double knee replacement, that really makes sense, and that's not gonna happen again. We know that somebody had a baby and that was normal. Or we had somebody who, you know, had some crazy illness, which, let's just not say COVID, but I've had people have complications due to the flu in the past and those kinds of things. But we don't know that from Blue Cross, John, so that's why it's a hassle. But I will say this, your employees fill them out within 2 days and they have them in there. I mean, they're all willing to do whatever it takes to just make sure we've got options for you guys. So I don't have any other group that does them in 2 days, but we can say, hey, we need them by Friday, and boom, they're done. But it gives us an idea on their prescription drugs, because again, with your plan that you have, that may change. And we have no idea what our prescription drug utilization could be if we go to a drug card. So that helps us know, if we look at a drug card, how many people are going to be using high dollar drugs or not. So that's why we do that. It's just a kind of an extra peace of mind to me that we've done all of our due diligence to compare rates, to compare you know, claims history. If we had a third-party administrator, I could pull that like that, and I wouldn't have to do that. So
under, you would probably answer more, you know, I've done so much research, you could probably answer this better than anybody, but under the stop-loss carriers, the prescription benefit managers, what's your, how, I mean, are they transparent? How do they work?
we have several different ones that we work with, and each third-party administrator has usually several that we can use, and we do some research on that. We have our favorites based on what they are doing to save money, what they're doing with rebates. Most of the ones, you know, Blue Cross gives you rebates on yours. They refund, I believe it's 80%. We like the ones that refund 100% of the rebates to you. And that kind of also should go in that pool of funding to help stabilize, you know, our pool going forward. But yes, we want to work with those who are really working on that. We have a new company that started up in Kansas, by the way. And they're doing some really awesome things. We're just starting to work with them. They are working with one of our network providers too. But they're doing some out-of-the-box thinking, and I'm really impressed with what I've seen so far. So, and they're out of Southwest Kansas, by the way. So we have access to them. But I'm really excited to watch that.
Any questions, guys? I just have one more, and then we'll do a little bit of discussion. But the last question that I wanted to ask was, by staying on grandfather, does grandfather cost us more money by not being able to take advantage of the manufacturer co-pay assistance?
Blue Cross
That was asked
plans,
to me.
you can take that. No, it has nothing to do with that.
Okay.
What Blue Cross does, and most carriers are not giving an employee credit towards their deductible when they use that, because it's kind of like I'm double dipping. You know, I have $100 copay, for instance, maybe, and I get reimbursed $100, and then so that's not going to go towards my deductible because it was kind of a wash. If it was over and above the copay, they would get credit for it, but not if they're getting that. I don't know that that's, I'm not sure that I like that, but it's none of my business, I guess. I get that, you know, it's helping them meet their deductible, but it's also saving the plan money and the carrier money, so it's my thought.
So, Alan, I'm going to ask you a question. So you're just coming on board. You asked some pretty interesting questions there that I mean, I don't know what your feeling is. Do you feel like you need a little time to look at that, or, I mean, what are the, you know, you need to share with the commission what your thoughts are.
Oh, absolutely. It's, this is all very complicated stuff, you know, the third-party administrators and prescription benefit managers, and, you know, I've worked my way through a number of these systems, so never do anything too quickly, just need to go through this and examine it and figure out where we're at. You know, the sooner I give you advice, the better, but I guess tonight would not be the night.
What does the commission think?
So our next regular meeting is on December 7th.
Mhm.
Would that still give you ample time to be able to go out and do your due diligence if we were to decide to
I
stay
will
with
make it happen. That's just what we do. And can I address just, do you have more question for me?
I don't know.
Okay. The TPAs that we work with, we've worked with for a long time, and we're very picky. So we're not going to throw in a new TPA on you. So I admit it, but it is very serious, and we want to have all the data for you if you consider.
So who is the TPA that you work with?
We work with Trustmark, which is across the country, HPI. We work with Benefit Management out of Great Bend, so we have one here in Kansas. And I can't tell you, I always want to call it Aztec, but it's not. But we work with them, and they're out of Oklahoma. So we try to stay as close as we can to home, because if I need to be in their door, I will be. And we have a Trustmark office, and obviously they're in Denver and they're in Kansas City, but we have worked with the one out of Kansas City for many years. We've also Meritain out of Denver, which is an Aetna company. So
I think what's always helpful to me is to know how many times in the last 10 years have we ever hit our stop loss amount, the aggregate stop loss.
You have? I believe it's 1 year. I actually have all that data all over my desk right now. I can't tell you, but 1 year you have hit your maximum. Blue Cross paid over and above that, yes, in the 5 years. And that's common to have 1 year. You know, it's kind of, I never believed that early on, that it's kind of a 3-year cycle. You kind of have 3 normal years, and then you have 2 bad ones during that 5-year period. And that seems to be, you guys kind of hit the norm.
Well, and I think my remarks to you, Mayor, were based upon the plan itself. You know, is absorbing a lot of that information. But, so I have to look at it and see what.
And if we need to have a meeting, we can sure do that if you need to have more questions. Thank you.
So you would have to, yeah, well, you know, I'm open. I think that one of the things, just so that you know, Rhonda, we, in fact, you know, we voted on this meeting, you know, for complete transparency, and so the employees would feel comfortable. We've had another consultant that has made a proposal that probably Alan needs to be in touch with and educate him on some of the logistics, because he wasn't here, you know, when he came to see us. I don't know that, you know, what the commission is thinking as far as, you know, the action is concerned. So I don't know, I mean, I'm open for some suggestions, as if you want, you know, Alan to contact Mr. Longhofer, visit with him, and you'll be back. Our next meeting's on the 7th, right, of December?
Yes.
And I'll be here on the 1st.
Huh?
I'll be here on the 1st.
You'll be here on the 1st. That's right. And so, what's the commission thinking? I need some thoughts and some direction.
In my thoughts, I think I'd like to think on it a little bit and kind of compare everything in my own mind and come back next meeting and make a decision.
Feedback, guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair thing to do. everybody have a chance to digest and come back and decide next meeting exactly what we wanna do.
JD?
I'm okay with whatever, if Alan wants to get, more info and get all the pieces together, that's fine with whatever the, you know, whatever you wanna do on that side of it, so, either way.
Gary, you okay with that? For
Yeah,
Alan to come
I'm-
back on the first, or, I mean, you're running the show, you could call a special meeting. You know, either, you know, when you get here or wait till the 7th or, you know, whatever you wanna handle it. And, you know, that way, I mean, we're pretty knowledgeable on the insurance side of things. That way it'll give you time to talk to Mr. Longhofer, you know, consider things. And then at that point, one of the things that, you know, that needs to be clarified is that, that this action does not affect your insurance at all, if I'm correct, right? It's only.
That's my understanding of what
It's
we're
only
talking about here.
the consulting side of things. So, you know, we don't want, you know, the employees to think that we're not taking, you know, these things into consideration. As Rhonda has alluded to, you know, there's some impending formidable changes that's liable to come our way, you know, due to COVID-19, and, you know, that's why she's doing her due diligence, and I'm sure that they're going to happen, but I just kind of want to throw that out. So, are you okay with that, Gary?
Yeah,
Okay.
we budgeted for what we got,
Right. So,
but we still need to see what's best.
well, you know, Alan, then I would, you know, recommend that you contact Mr. Longhofer. You can, Mary will get you Rhonda's, you know, telephone number, and be in contact and work with her in regards to the logistical differences between the two firms. What do you think would be in the best interest? And then we'll come back for a formal vote, at our next meeting or whenever you call them. Does that sound good for you?
Yes, thank you.
All right.
I have one more thing.
Sure.
Out of my kid, I mean, I just wanna say, thank you for your presentation. It was a
Yes,
very nice
absolutely.
presentation. I think you gave us lots of good information to digest here. I also feel like, you know, all of our staff really enjoy working with you, and nobody has anything negative to say with their interactions with you and your company.
And some of the processes and why it happened, and they're all like, okay.
Yeah.
You know, and you want to cry with them sometimes, but thank you.
I also want to say to the commission, just kind of based on, you know, what we've heard, you know, and what we heard from Mr. Longhofer. I mean, I have a hard time, you know, we can take the 2 weeks and think it over and come back and discuss some more, but I have a hard time, just from what I've heard, finding a justifiable reason to cancel the contract that we're in the middle of with her. I don't see any big contrast between the services that we would be getting if we changed consultants from her to the other one. So, I mean, I just, you know, keep that in consideration that, you know, we are in the middle of a contract, and to cancel that contract, I feel that we would really need to have just reason to do so. How long, do we know how much longer the current contract is for?
I did not bring that with me, Aaron, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I didn't bring it either, so.
2? I can't tell you. It's 3, we do it in 3-year increments, and I think we did it last year, maybe,
Yes.
John.
Yeah.
JD would probably remember. Yeah, I think it was last year.
Yeah, I think was it last year? I don't remember, honestly.
I'd have to look, but we were in the middle of it.
I mean, you can do some research into it. One of the things that we have to take in consideration is the leadership of our new city manager, and that's why I'm simply saying that he needs to, you know, educate. I mean, just from tonight, he is well educated on the parameters of insurance, and, you know, we hire him to run the city, and the interest in everything from personnel to cost infrastructures. And so, you know, we'll remain open to his directorship when he comes back.
Yes, and I agree, and I mean, I will also do my due diligence over the next couple of weeks and look over
Oh,
all
absolutely.
information. I'm just saying my initial feeling from what we have seen from the two
Yeah.
presentations is.
No, it was a good presentation.
Thank you.
It was a good
Appreciate that.
presentation.
I'm happy it wasn't 30%.
Uh,
The hospitals, by the way, we just did ours and it was 3%, so
Oh,
it's
that's good.
comparable.
good.
Yeah, it's good.
That's kind of
Yeah.
been where mine have been at lately, but I have had one really bad one.
Did your insurance structure change much this year?
No.
What are you at, 80-20 or what?
You have an HSA, don't you?
We have, there's four
Multiple.
options, but yeah, there's two that aren't and two that are, and then deductibles all over the place where
Yeah.
you can,
You're a little bit bigger
choose.
group, 100 and
Choose.
some.
yeah,
that helps.
so.
One of the things too, and I'm sorry, but you made me think of this, JD, that we're doing with a hospital that we work with and have had for many, many years. We are working on some steerage to that hospital. And so we're working with the city and the county and the school district where the hospital has agreed to take a certain level of discount just to keep them here instead of going other places. And so we have we can't do this with Blue, we have to look at a TPA, but we look at what we call the hospital benefits, and which would also include your clinic and those kinds of things, or it does in this hospital, and then a network area, which would be anywhere in the network that you go, and then an out-of-network area. So instead of maybe having a $500 deductible at the hospital, maybe I have a $400 deductible if I use this hospital. Instead of paying a $35 office visit copay at the doctor, maybe I pay $25. And so it's just kind of helping your local people and working with those entities of 50 or more to try to pull them in. So again, we have some fun things that we're kind of doing. So
Are you still under Meritain? Now, Meritain is owned by Aetna, aren't they? Yeah, I kind of, right? Yeah, I kind of.
yeah, lots of TPAs. Every TPA we work with will do that. But it would help the hospital to have that steerage, I think. Every small hospital that I know of is wanting to keep people at there instead of going to the next town or, a bigger city for care. So some creative things we can do. I'm kind of a nerd with this, in case you can't tell. Thank you again.
Okay, any other
Happy
questions for-
Thanksgiving.
For Rhonda? No, all right, thank you, Rhonda, for your
Thank you.
presentation.
Yes, y'all take care, be safe.
Alan, any closing remarks?
Just happy to be here.
Yeah, good, we're glad to have you on board. We mean that. I'd like to extend publicly my gratitude for the amount of years that Andrew served as our city manager. He did a good job. He has moved on to bigger and better things. So just as a public acknowledgement, I thank him for everything that he's done. And this was a special meeting, so no commissioners report. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I would second Andrew and second, you take a motion. for
Second
that,
vote.
yeah.
Okay, all right. All those in favor?
Aye.